All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me a touch on the top prop bets for today on both PrizePicks and Underdog. Mostly concentrating on NBA, but I do want to start out with some pretty good EV bets that we have in college basketball and also in hockey, and then I'll be touching on some NFL at the end of this video. So starting out with the recap from yesterday, I'm going to start out with the specific NBA slip from the NBA video yesterday. It does suck that literally the two NBA props that we had during the video were these ones, because I'll show you guys here in a second. Any other of the really good NBA props that we have most likely give you guys a 6 for 6 slip. All in all, we'll take that. And that's why we're always chasing those good EV bets that we get. But this is the example I'm referring to. Like basically any of these, I mean, we got Dort in there. That game was a blowout. He didn't get there, but you could have attached on any of these other ones, and chances are it's either a 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 6 slip bet. And that's where it's frustrating that we don't get the fantasy score props, earlier on in the day, because it's the most predictable. It's the biggest edge that you get on both PrizePicks and Underdog. And then here's another one from earlier on. This one had a 54% likelihood to hit. So very tilting in that sense that I couldn't give you guys a 6 for 6 bet when I kind of showed you guys I'm only putting those ones in there because they're good EV bets. So tilting there. Look at NFL wise, 0 for 2 there. It was not a slate that I particularly liked. I only gave out a 2 slip bet for the bet of the day. I did throw in a 6 for 6 one if anyone wanted to stack it. Hopefully you guys didn't use that one. That did not go well either. And then this was the bet slip for NFL on the day yesterday. Trevor Lawrence had himself finally a good game. That was very tilting, especially against Tennessee. But we can see again, the fantasy score props pretty darn good there. Brock Purdy, this was awesome that this was there throughout the day. It was pretty much the best EV bet all weekend, and we got it the whole weekend. So shout out to PrizePicks for letting us take advantage. And then here was just another close one as well, just showing you guys kind of the consistency from yesterday. And it was just such a weird day. I had so many slips like this, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 6. Very tilting, honestly. I had a profitable day, but it was literally just on a bunch of double ups, just like this. And don't get me wrong, I had some 3 for 3 slips, 4 for 4 slips. Like that was nice, but big one, all 5 for 6. I didn't get any luck breaking my way in that regard. And I feel like yesterday was a good example of why we get an edge on PrizePicks. Like some of the bets that I thought were good sportsbook bets, yesterday specifically, did not end up working out. Basically, I think slightly below 50%. Obviously, sportsbooks, you want to be slightly above 50%, especially when you're betting unders that give a better payout. But like when we're chasing these good percent likelihood bets, that's going to pay off in the long term on PrizePicks. I feel like that is a point I like to echo on every single video. And so that's why I'm starting out with these college basketball props that we are currently getting. We can see we got massive edges here, at least on 3 of them. And I feel pretty good about all 4 of these. Sorry. We got Watson for over 11.5 points. The projection data also likes that at 14.5, 54% likelihood for that one to hit. Zach Edey here. Very interesting. Gets a tougher matchup going against Gonzaga. They like the under there. And we see his game log has been a little bit inconsistent there. And a lot of his production, guys, will come from blocks and steals. As long as that's limited, which you'd hope for against Gonzaga, we should be good. Then from there, we just got 2 really solid bets with the under 55% likelihood to hit. Like we're just betting those. And honestly, guys, we have this free square with Christian McCaffrey, and we might get some better bets throughout this video. Don't get me wrong. But as it sits right now, I'm fine betting those individually with the Christian McCaffrey free square. We got some pretty good EV on those bets. Do want to show you guys one NHL bet as well before we get into the NBA slate. So we have one here that is seemingly too good to pass up on. Shots on goal for under for Vincent here. And we can see been a little bit hit or miss in terms of the shots, but all in all, seems like a pretty good EV bet that we have there as well. So you could also attach that there to the, once again, Christian McCaffrey free square that we. And so right away, I'll give you guys a slip here. Not exactly a bet of the day slip or anything like that, but these are prop bets where we'll probably see them adjust throughout the day. I think the beauty of fantasy score props is that those typically won't, and it's crazy because those are typically the best ones throughout the day. It's awesome that they don't really adjust too much, but these other ones will be EV bets that change. I like to start out the video with those. If you guys like any of these ones that you see, by all means go for it. Chances are probably going to go like 4 for 6. All in all, pretty good stuff. And then this Brandon Ingram one has a 54% chance to hit. I'll touch on that in a second, but real quickly want to show you guys some NFL props as well. And I really hate that 2 of the better props that we have right now are Mahomes and also Jalen Hurts for their under fantasy scores. And 1, it sucks that the average Vegas line is suggesting that, but 2, they make for better under bets there on Underdog. Look at this, guys. That's a huge edge on Underdog. 23 is the projected fantasy score for Jalen Hurts, and then you could just bet the over on PrizePicks. That is a 2-point difference. That is huge. And again, this is the massive thing about fantasy score props. I called this out yesterday showing NBA. There are some props where we had 2 points differences for a fantasy score. That is huge. That doesn't happen with any other prop. The biggest one that we have here is a slight yards difference. That's a 1 yard difference for MVS. That's it. Like that's I just want to keep echoing that because that is crazy. And then for what it's worth, guys, like I do want them to go under their fantasy score props there. Hurts and Mahomes. I think I suggested this one to you guys. I don't think it was available as like a bet of the day slip. I don't think I called that out. But again, we'll see. We'll see. I might honestly I think I'm going to do a game stack where I'm doing over fantasy score for both Mahomes and Hurts, especially given their lines on underdog, where we could potentially be in a slight edge there. Probably doing Devonta Smith for over fantasy score there as well. We'll see. But fingers crossed for me there. It's going to be a nice little hit for me. And you might see a lot of people say that prize picks and underdog betting is very much volume-based betting, where, you know, if you keep doing the correct decisions in the long term, it's going to pay off. That's kind of what we're seeing here with all those slips that I had that were pretty good ones. Maybe one will hit. If not, it's a nice thing to be on the plus side, especially like dating back to last. So let's go ahead and get into these bets for basketball. Starting out with the Bucks versus Wizards, we can see it as a 9.5 point spread. 245 is going to be the over and under for this one. We do have to worry about blowouts. Like the Dort prop that I had yesterday, fantasy score wise, I'm not going to say it would have cashed, but man, Portland got absolutely blown out extremely fast in that game. And for what it's worth, guys, I think with Portland going forward, we can make a lot of decent bets, at least with their injuries right now, where it's like you got Scoot out, you got Brogdon out, and Simon's out. Like we can make bets where either they're going to get blown out and we're just betting a lot of the unders that we get, or they're going to keep it close and we can bet the overs. I think that's not a terrible way to go with. Looking at the injuries for this game, we do have Marjon Beauchamp out and also Jay Crowder. That's not going to change too much. We might just see Malik Beasley be a kind of good play for us on this slate. We'll see if we're getting any good prop bets for the Bucks. And right before I do that, I'll show you guys kind of the two EV bets. Well, we kind of have three on the day right now. Sohan for under 5.5 rebounds. Now that's good enough to use. Even Brook Lopez, 3-pointers made. We'll touch on that one in a second here. But Zubac for under 9.5. We can see that's a pretty good EV bet. Underdog has already bumped it. The projection data also likes the under there. So seemingly a good bet. And then, yeah, the projection data likes Brandon Ingram for over 2.5 turnovers. So another seemingly good bet. But let's go ahead and start out with the Milwaukee Bucks here. So the Bucks have been playing better as of recently, which is great for me as a Bucks fan. I do want to just call out kind of the per 36 expectations with both Jay Crowder and also Marjon Beauchamp off the court. And this is going to be one of those things that might not seem like much to people, but you got Beauchamp that's been playing about 15 to 20 minutes per game, really just where they see a slight edge, matchup wise. And if not, it has been Jay Crowder getting about 20 to 25 minutes or so. So with him out, we have seen a little bit of the minutes shift towards Pat Connaughton, who has been getting a lot more run. He's kind of hit or miss. He gets minutes with his shots dropping, but we can see he definitely has seen an increase in minutes over the past 4 games. If we get some good props for him, I might not mind him. And he's someone that should get run regardless of if this game blows out or not. And so I don't know exactly what the line is I'd want to go in on him for, but we can see like his points per game is 6.5. If that only goes up to like 7.5 for this game, I'd probably be fine betting the over because, again, he's going to get minutes with those 2 players off the court already. And if the game's a blowout, I still think he'll get some blowout run. And so he is 5th on the list in terms of minutes with those 2 players off the court. His per 36 production is 10.3 points, 7.7 rebounds, 3.1 assists. So yeah, decent play. But I think the player that I'd probably want to be going in on the most is someone like Malik Beasley, who Beasley definitely gets the most run with those 2 players off the court. Averages 14.3 points per 36, so already at that over. Averages 5.3 rebounds, 1.6 assists. So seemingly this is probably one of the better edges that we are getting. Again, maybe a better sportsbook bet. All in all, I probably like the points and rebounds one as well. They're just all in all, like Beasley is seemingly undervalued right now. And I get it. Like those 2 players shouldn't be huge movers. And realistically, they're not. If like Chris Middleton gets more minutes as well, like we wouldn't love that. But we can see points wise, he has been doing a little bit better. Obviously had a really good game, slight regression game against Dallas, but the minutes are there. And so that's what we can bank on. I do think if this game is a blowout, he still should get some run. We saw that against Charlotte as well. So that's another point I just want to echo is that if the game is a blowout, he is seemingly someone that's still going to get minutes. He's still going to get his run. And, he is coming off of a poor night shooting his 3-ball range. If he makes one more 3 there, we're kind of good with that. And what is his points at just in general? I'd almost be fine doing the 9.5 points. He's projecting 11.8. Like that's decent. Again, with PrizePicks, with underdog, we want to be chasing the best bets that give us the best EV. Looking at Brook Lopez, this one's interesting. Under 1.3 3-pointers made. I would say more times than not, this prop bet is one that's probably going to hit for Brook. Does get a good matchup against Washington, but you look at it, he really isn't someone that's really shooting a lot of 3 balls. Now, the thing with Brook is when he is shooting a 3 ball, he's typically wide open. Like it's Giannis is kicking out, Dame's kicking out. Like he's he's wide open. And so all in all, like if he's getting 3 3-ball attempts, it's not too crazy for him to make 2 out of 3 because he's typically pretty open. Now, with this game against Boston, in which, the data is kind of thinking it's going to be a blowout, I could see potentially trying to bet the unders there because he's not going to probably get 36 minutes. Now the Bucks have been running out their starters and whatnot a little bit more. They're trying to get that team chemistry down, and it's working so far lately. So tough to say whether or not he will get his minutes limited because of a blowout. I think I'd rather go Connaughton. I think I'd rather go Beasley if we're chasing that. From there, I don't see any other props that I really want to be going in on too much. I would say this correlates pretty well. If he's not hitting 2 3-balls, it's going to be more difficult for him to get 11.5 points. So not terrible. I did see Giannis for 3-pointers. I kind of want to take a peek at that. 0.5 for him. And the thing with it is, like, it is potentially going to be a blowout. Maybe just F's around a little bit and shoots an open 3-ball, makes it. Maybe. I don't know. Interesting one there. But don't need to force that. Let's go ahead and get into Washington. So for Washington, they continue to be an annoyance. Let's put it that way. And like they're tough because even if they keep a game close, you don't exactly know which player is going to be the player that is causing the game to stay close. Like you would assume it'd be Kyle Kuzma. You'd assume that it'd be Tyus Jones. We just haven't exactly seen that happen. Sorry, not Tyus Jones, Jordan Poole. And Jordan Poole has just not been, as to what his projected minutes are, 22. So yeah, I would agree with that. Like it's not a good PrizePicks bet, only about a 53% likely to hit, but I could see betting the under there. And the reason being, he gets one of the more difficult matchups on the slate. When games are blowouts, he typically isn't getting that run, and he is someone that can be prone to get into foul trouble. Now, we haven't seen that lately, but we also haven't seen him get to 30 minutes lately. So all in all, I do find it more difficult to see him getting to 9 points now. A lot of people are going to see the recency and be like, well, he is going to get there. Well, maybe, but at the same time, definitely his most difficult match recently. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the Charlotte Hornets. Just looking at the game preview, it is a 232.5 for the over and under, a 9-point spread. So 2 early games that we have to worry about potential blowout. Looking at the injuries, we know that Charlotte is going to be without Terry Rozier and Nick Richards. To me, that is a big bump to someone like Mark Williams. He should get a big bump. Now, we're not getting any props for him just yet. The only props that we are getting for this team are going to be LaMelo Ball. So I'll start there, and I'll touch on Mark Williams in a second. So LaMelo Ball per 36 with Rozier and Richards off the court has the second most minutes. Mark Williams has the most. Ball averages 31 points per 36 with them off the court, 6.5 rebounds, 8.2 assists, and 1.5 steals. 3-pointers made is 4.2 per 36 with Terry Rozier and also Nick Richards off the court. Only averages 3.1 turnovers though. And so we can look at Ball here. He does get a difficult matchup going against Boston. Probably not one we want to touch if the game does stay close. And I say if, it's projected to be a blowout, but if it were to stay close, it would be because LaMelo Ball is having himself a good game. And it'd be because other players are making some shots. Like the assist is obviously dependent on other players. Obviously, it's being a more difficult matchup. You never know for sure. If the game does stay close, though, he's probably going to get closer to 39, 38 minutes in this game. The nice thing about Ball is, for the most part, he has still been getting 35, 36 minutes in games that are blowouts. To me, all those props are going to be a little bit too thin for him. I do want to mention Mark Williams, though. Mark Williams is someone that gets a massive bump with Nick Richards off the court. And you might be thinking, well, Nick Richards, he's not a big mover. He shouldn't be. I think it is. They have PJ Washington as their only other backup center who has been struggling lately. Nick Richards is someone that gets around 12 to 25 minutes per game, and I think that is huge. And so looking at Mark Williams, he only gets about a 0.6 bump in points, but still that's 14. Then his rebounds go up 3.9 to average 14.6 per 36. Assists does not change. The shot attempts go up by 3, and that's the biggest thing. Averages about 1.2 points per 36 more fantasy points, and he gets about a 2% bump in his use. So all in all, Mark Williams is someone that should get a big bump. And yes, this game might have blowout risk, but I think he's going to be locked into his minutes. And so this is a tool that will update once the Mark Williams props are available. I would suggest clicking on Mark Williams when they become available, scroll down and see his projected minute. Like I did that with LaMelo Ball. We can see his projected 34 minutes. If it is over 30, I would feel pretty good about that. And I do think he'll be locked in at 30 minutes because PJ Washington is someone that has been struggling lately. And that's just, I think it's mostly due to him just being really inconsistent this year, but also more difficult matchups. And this is going to be a difficult matchup, but also I think a big factor is the fact that Miles Bridges has come back and played well, and they might be just rolling with the hot hand there between Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, and even Gordon Hayward. That being said, PJ Washington should be locked into his minutes, and Miles Bridges should be with Nick Richards being out. Someone's going to need to get those backup center minutes. I'm actually curious about the starting lineup now. It is PJ Washington still, but this rotation is going to be extremely interesting because I think Washington, Mark Williams, and also Miles Bridges are going to have to get a lot of run. So let's go ahead and get into Boston now. Boston players are going to get get a great matchup. And we're not getting any Boston props? What? That's weird. That is weird. I don't know why we're not getting any Boston props. I guess I'll just go ahead and pass on them. They do get a good matchup. Like Porzingis should be able to feast in this matchup against Charlotte, guys, especially if PJ Washington is getting a little bit more run, and Miles Bridges for that matter. Interesting there. Like I probably will like PJ or Porzingis. If his point total's at about his average, I'd probably be over. Maybe rebounds as well, like points and rebounds. He's probably going to be someone we look at fantasy score wise. That's annoying. They've been doing that a lot recently where they're not giving us the full allotment of our prop. Let's go ahead and move on into the next game. Another game that has a blowout risk, unfortunately. Denver versus Detroit. About a 9-point spread as well, 8.7, and then 224.5 or so for the over and under. Looking at the injuries for this game, the Pistons are so banged up. They have a lot of game time decisions. Joe Harris is someone we haven't really seen. Livers as well. Monte Morris as well. Tough to say for sure, but Jalen Duren we know is also a game time decision. So yeah, we're not going to have any Detroit pop. Really recommend. That's a lot of injury news to go through. Looking at Denver, Jamal Murray is still out. And so again, I'm curious, especially in this matchup, Michael Porter Jr. and also Aaron Gordon should be locked into a pretty good game. And so I hope that we are at least getting Denver props. We are. And we are getting some Detroit props. Interesting. Only Jokic props. Okay. Pretty late in the day, we should be getting a decent amount more props. That's why I record these a little bit later for you. All in all, I probably don't want to touch Jokic. Don't get me wrong. He's someone that should be able to feast in this game. He only played 28 minutes in the last game. It was a blowout. They got blown out by Cleveland. And I wouldn't say that he struggled because he almost had a triple-double. Did get in a little bit of foul trouble, though. You don't have to worry about that. All in all, I think Jokic is going to have a massive game. Detroit, I just don't know if we want to touch his points, rebounds, especially when it's favoring the under. That being said, let's just call it PJ Washington, or sorry, Michael Porter Jr. and also Aaron Gordon, basically every video now. And so looking at like Michael Porter Jr. had himself another good game. Again, limited minutes. You kind of expect them to be on the blowout, to be the team that's blowing out the other team. Even then, we can't really project him to get as many more minutes. The blowout run is a risk there. And then also Aaron Gordon. Now, his minutes have been more locked in. He's probably the safer bet. All in all, though, kind of feels a little bit too thin as well. Like maybe we can do a fantasy score for him when it comes out, but with the potential for this game to be a blowout, I do worry a little bit. Let's take a peek at Detroit. I bet we're getting Cade Cunningham props, and that's it. Okay, that is it. Yeah, again, I don't want to touch on this until we get that injury news, and there's just so much injury news that we have there that I don't really want to give you guys any suggestions based off of that, because during game time decision, if he starts, Isaiah Stewart's going to shift to the 4. If Duren sits, Stewart's going to probably still be the 4, and then we're going to see Bagley in there, but Stewart gets a little bit more run as the 5. Killian Hayes being in or out does change a lot as well, so just going to not really touch on that right now. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game. Then the next game, a little bit more appealing, but kind of not really. 8-point spread. It's crazy. The first 4 games are going to be potential blowouts. Don't love that in terms of predictability. We got the Spurs versus the Clippers, a 230.5 for the over and under. So let's take a peek at this game injury-wise. Plumlee is still out. Devin Vassell is someone that is projected to sit, and so if he sits, we might see Champagne in the starting lineup, and that is some decent news there. But with that being said, we should be getting some good props for the Clippers at least. Now we already saw Zubac as one where the data is favoring the under rebounds and assists at 9.5, and then Terrence Mann as well at under rebounds and assists at 7.5. So let's take a peek at those two. So Zubac should be someone that is fine tonight. Like he has been getting a ton of run, especially in games that are close, and this is a pretty good matchup. Like I would expect him to have a good game, but all in all, rebounds and assists at 9.5. Like he can get there on just rebounds. That does worry me, especially in this matchup. We look at the last game though against the Spurs, only 22 minutes. They absolutely blew out the Spurs, and that's what we'd be hoping on. We're hoping on a blowout, and if it does blow out, then yeah, someone like Paul George as well. Was it Paul George? Let's just check. Oh, no, it's Terrence Mann. Apologies. Actually, I don't know if I agree with that. I was going to say someone like Terrence Mann would be someone that we would also expect the under. I don't know if that's true. I think he would get run kind of regardless of if this game blows out or not. And since he's come back from injury, he has played about 20 minutes. And so at 7.5, I don't know, that kind of feels like a stay away for me. Like he's kind of been consistently getting the over there. I don't think I want to touch that one. And then other than that, they all kind of feel correct. We are getting some fantasy score props here. Terrence Mann for over 20. James Harden for over 37.5. You can see slight edge there somewhat. Vegas is more favoring their under at 38.3. So we're seeing that the under is a slight edge there. All in all, that's something that I'm probably staying away from, especially where the projection data is saying bet the over. That to me is just a stay away. Same thing with the Terrence Mann one, probably a little bit too thin. Again, he has been playing fine. If he gets a block and steal, he should be able to get there. But all in all, it's probably a stay away. Kawhi Leonard, 40. Yeah, that's probably one we want to stay away from as well. But nice to see that we're starting to get some fantasy score props. Let's go ahead and move on into the next game. I'm hoping we get some better props. We got Miami versus the Bulls. A 1.4 for the spread. A very low game total, though. So we'll see what props we are getting. Look at the game total. Alex Caruso, a game time decision. If he says that's going to open up a lot of minutes, Tyler Hero is still going to be out for Miami. We look at the projected starting lineups here. Caruso is expected to start. So all in all, we should know what to expect. And so let's go ahead and start out with Miami. I don't really know what to do with Bam tonight. Like, this line does seem too low. And you look at the last time these two teams met in the last game, Bam just crushed. And I believe I think there's something to it. I think like Bam crushes against Vooch. I think that's a thing. So I don't like the data is telling us to bet the under there, probably just to stay away. Jimmy Butler has been someone that has been playing better as of recent. And that simply comes with Tyler Hero off the court, the points especially. And to me, probably just to stay away. I am curious as to how many more minutes Jaquez gets. He's been getting around 30 minutes, but his minutes we can't depend on, I don't think, especially with Caleb Martin getting back in about 15 minutes or so. Yeah, I don't know. The props that we're getting from Miami all feel a little bit too thin. Let's take a peek at Chicago. DeMar DeRozan over 4.5 assists, about a 53% likely to hit. We'll take a peek at that. So last game, 4 assists there. Does average 4.3 on the season. All in all, though, in like a low scoring game, I know the minutes are going to be there for him. I probably don't want to touch that. Like, I don't know. This game feels like a stay away, even though it's projected to stay close. I just don't like the low scoring nature of this game. Vooch did struggle against Bam. That could be something you're betting on. For some reason, they're not giving us Vooch props yet, so I can't really tell you guys whether or not I kind of agree with the lines. Kind of annoying that they're being so cautious lines lately. I get it, but then why are they giving us the fantasy score props? I will refresh the data at the end of this video to see if we're getting any better lines and whatnot prop bets, just as an FY. Looking at the Kings versus Pelicans, this should be the first really good game that we have. 1.5 point spread, 237.5 for the over and under, so seemingly a very appealing game. Looking at it, we still know that CJ McCollum is out. If Matt Ryan sits, that's also going to open up some minutes for some players that we'd be looking at, maybe Herb Jones. Looking at the Kings, Kevin Huerter game time decision, that's also a big piece of injury news. We'll take a peek at their likelihood to play. Huerter projected in the lineup right now. We'll see if that holds up. He is someone that sat out yesterday on the front end of the back-to-back, so I would say probably a little bit more likely to play in this game. But you never know. It is a finger injury. He is a shooter, so probably is hurting his shot. I did want to take a peek at Matt Ryan as well. Back end of a back-to-back, sat out. I believe it was. Maybe not. No, it's not at the back end of a back-to-back. Apologies. But he did play 27 minutes last game. They were kind of thin in that game, so it probably does make sense for him to sit. If he sits, I think that we're just going to see the minutes go to Daniels, Herbert Jones. Herbert Jones has been playing better as of recent. We'll take a peek at the props that we're getting. So Sabonis and Fox have really been operating well together. This is a very high-scoring game, and all in all, I don't mind the idea of stacking those two together. Like, if we're betting on the game to be high scoring, if we're betting on the game to stay close, both those two should coexist together and have themselves a really good game. And so we look at it like probably a little bit too thin for points, rebounds, and assists for De'Aaron Fox. But again, if you're trying to game stack it, I think that does have some logic to it. And then Sabonis as well. I personally think that this is way too low for him with De'Aaron Fox back. He's been able to crush, like, literally the last 3 games. He's been crushed with De'Aaron Fox back. And so that's probably one of my favorite bets on the slate. Now, again, I think this is going to be a better sportsbook bet because we can see it's a 50-50 split. The projection data doesn't like it. And so to me, when we're getting a 50-50 split, that's just a better bet on one. Okay, so that's probably the approach I would roll with there. Take a peek at the other side. We got the Pels. So Zion Williams has been a source of frustration, I think, for every NBA fan, especially a Pelicans fan. He's someone that everyone wants to play better. He just hasn't. He should be averaging more rebounds than this as well, for what it's worth. It is a high scoring game. You would expect him to get a little bit more rebounds in a higher scoring game. All in all, I'm okay with that. Makes sense. J-Val is someone that does get a more difficult matchup. I don't think we can accurately project the minutes to be there for him. Like, it seems like when Zion's out or when Herbert Jones is out is when we really want to attack J-Val with Zion back. Probably don't want to use him. And then Brandon Ingram, definitely been a little bit too hit or miss. Definitely been a little bit too shot dependent for me to really trust him. So we're looking at the props that we're getting. Sure, you could go assist. I don't love that. Rebounds and assists you could roll with. To me, those are all a little bit too thin. So let's get into the next game. We got the Knicks versus the Timberwolves. Timberwolves have been a fun team. 2.5 point spread, 214.5 for the over and under. Looking at the injury report here, Grimes, being out would probably shift some minutes for the Timberwolves. They're not too banged up, so we can kind of project and predict which players to be on in this game, assuming that we're getting the props that we want to be getting. And so we start out with the Timberwolves. Mike Conley over fantasy score is the first one. And again, guys, I'll be refreshing this at the end of the video to see like other good fantasy score props that we get. But again, like, this is the first really good bet that we have on the board today. Let's take a peek at it. First, I want to see his projected minutes. They're at 29. That's good. Against New York, I don't know if we exactly love the matchup, but he is someone that, yeah, probably should be locked into around 29 minutes, assuming that the game stays close. Last game against the Pels did not do that well, didn't need to do much. All in all, been a little bit hit or miss, I guess. Don't like the fact that the 2 times he got the over were against the same team, against Golden State, a shorthanded Golden State Warriors for that matter. But again, you'd probably assume that he's probably due for a better game, given the fact that he hasn't gotten that over in a while. And a little bit of that would come down to him just making a few more buckets here and there. So yeah, I think I'm fine with that. Maybe he can get a steal as well. That gets us in the plus. I'm fine with that work. From there, we do see that the next best one is Mike Conley under points. Don't love that. Jaden McDaniels under 3.5 rebounds. For me, guys, with the bigs, like with Rudy Gobert and Cat, it has felt like mostly a stay away on the season, unless one of them gets ruled out. Like Gobert does get a difficult matchup, but to me, it's kind of one of those situations where we're either betting one for the over and one for the under, or we're just kind of staying away. And Cat has been playing better as of recent, finally. But yeah, they do get a more difficult matchup seemingly against New York. And with that, I don't think I want to touch. Then Ant-Man's props are all pretty much correct in this game. Interesting. So we take a peek at the New York props that we're getting, and we're kind of seeing Jalen Brunson for under his fantasy score at 35.5. Projection data likes at 32. The average sportsbook line would be favoring the under slightly at 35. So I like that. About a 54% chance for this one to hit. Julius Randle for over fantasy score at 37.5. Also fascinating given the matchup. Let's take a peek at both of those. So Jalen Brunson does get a more difficult matchup, and he has been someone that has benefited lately from pretty easy matchup. Charlotte, Washington, Atlanta, not bad. He has been getting heavy minutes, but I do also want to point out that RJ Barrett had been someone that had been out in a few of those games, so it makes sense why he was getting a lot more usage and a lot more shot attempts up. RJ Barrett is expected back in this game. Then also, if Quentin Grimes is back, that's just going to mean there's a little bit more usage to go around rather than it be concentrated on just like Jalen Brunson getting a bunch of work. So all in all, I probably would agree with that, where we're going to see his production take a dip. And in a weird way, I'd probably say that does correlate decently, where if Mike Conley's having a good game, probably means he's going to get like a steal from Jalen Brunson. It's not bad. I would say maybe we could bet both of those. A slight little game stack there. Now let's take a peek at Julius Randle. Julius Randle at 37.5. He has been someone that has been playing better recently. I don't know if I love the matchup. I'm probably going to stay away from this one. If it was like a 55% likelihood, I'd probably just trust it. But given the matchup going against Cat and then also Rudy Gobert, I just don't love it. Now, the nice thing about the Knicks is we know they're going to play heavy minutes in games that are projected to stay close. This game is projected to stay close. Really, if Randle's going to get the over, it depends on his turnovers not being as great as his blocks. But yeah, this is a more difficult matchup. I don't know if I really want to trust that. RJ Barrett, very much shot dependent if he gets his over or not. I would say if Jalen Brunson is getting the under, I would say that probably would help RJ Barrett get the over a little bit more. So that I would say there is some correlation there. Maybe a slight game stack opportunity there. Then last, let's get into the last game tonight. We got the Rockets versus the Warriors, a 6.5 point spread, a 220 for the over and under. Looking at the injury report, Tari Eason is going to be out tonight. That's going to mean Justine Tate and also Jabari Smith are going to get a little bit more work. Steph Curry expected back. You still have Draymond Green out and Gary Payton out. So I'm actually curious how much of Kuminga we're going to like on this slate. And let's start out. So Kuminga has seen his points kind of go up with Curry and Draymond Green off the court. But now with Draymond just being off the court, I'm actually curious if that helps or hurts Kuminga. So I take a peek at the minutes. It actually goes Chris Paul, Dario Saric minute-wise, and then Kuminga. Kuminga per 36 does get a big bump, but we're not projecting him to get 30 minutes. So yeah, I don't know if he's going to be someone that we'd be going in on. With Curry off the court, he was the player that got the biggest bump. And so now I think we're actually would maybe be looking at Saric, who has been playing well. In a weird way, Saric and Paul actually both get a little bit of a bump in usage with Draymond Green off the court, which is strange. Pretty big sample size. I don't know, Curry being back tonight, he's pretty appealing, especially if he's going to be playing 40 minutes like he did in his last game. Like, not worried about the injury at all. And it's annoying that that's the only prop that we're getting, but he's probably the only player that on the Golden State Warriors that we can trust on a nightly basis. All in all, the props that we're getting for him probably a little bit too thin. Let's take a peek at Houston. And never mind, we're not getting props for Houston just yet. Interesting. Let's just talk about with Tari Eason off the court. Like, it might not seem like a big mover, but it is. Like, he's been someone that's been getting around 20 to 15 minutes. And so with him off the court, I do think it's going to be Jabari Smith having a better game. He does get a great match against the Golden State Warriors. If we can lock him into around 30 minutes, he should get a bump in his points and rebounds and potentially assists. But we can see this is pretty much at what, 19? If this line is actually at 19 again tonight, I probably would be fine betting the over. So for points and rebounds, because he should get a slight bump. That being said, Justine Tate will also get a slight bump. I think probably a little bit too thin for him bets wise, and I don't know if we'll get one. Sengun seemingly will get a pretty good matchup as well. He's been someone that's been extremely consistent, and so maybe we get a good prop for him, but we're not getting that. So I do want to refresh the data on my end, show you guys the best prop bets that we're getting, give you guys a bet of the day. But first, let me just show you guys the prop bets that we're getting for Underdog. And Underdog is extremely delayed in terms of getting their fantasy score props out. Now, I did post this on my Twitter. Like, there's typically a big point difference. Like, there's a few props yesterday where there's a 2 fantasy score prop difference. That can be huge. Right now, Keldon Johnson over 4.5 rebounds on Underdog is huge. You got Tyus Jones under 8.5 rebounds and assists. All right, so we have some pretty darn good edges right now, guys. If these are still there, by all means, put those into a slip. I'm pretty happy with those. These are some pretty big edges that we were getting for Underdog. Wow, love it. And just as an FYI, like if you guys are using those prop bets, make sure to use the promo code 9to5 if you guys are a first-time user for Underdog, because man, those are seemingly some pretty good edges. So yeah, if you guys want to jump in there and try to take advantage of that, by all means, go for it. And so here we go, guys. This is why I like to kind of do the videos at the time I do. One, it gives us the most information that we'll probably have throughout the day up until lineup lock. Obviously, that's when most of the information comes out. But looking at right now, we got some pretty big edges still. We got the Zubac one that's still there, showing as a good EV bet. Perfectly fine with that. We got Daniel Gafford under fantasy score. Makes sense given the other props that we already mentioned. Mike Conley over fantasy score, 54% chance that Denny, we do worry about that game being a potential blowout. I guess I'm fine with that. So seemingly we got 4 pretty good bets. Again, with PrizePicks, with Underdog, you want to be chasing bets that have a 54% likelihood to hit. That is when we are gaining an edge on PrizePicks over what we would be on it. And then just showing you guys real quickly the college basketball props. Again, we are getting some fantasy scores, some more fantasy score props there. This one for sellers, I want to call it, his projected minutes is like 16, which is off from the norm. That's kind of the thing with college basketball, is that sometimes the data is a little bit skewed for, I don't really know which reasons that'll happen. So that's why he's only projected 9.9. That's not going to be the case. Again, the projection data is just a separate data point that I pull in from non-sportsbook related data. Maybe I'll change that for college basketball. Just the data can be a little bit different again. But all in all, I think we just pass on that one. And then the rest of them is pretty much good to go. Adam Bona, I don't know if I agree with that. Again, the projection data, like I said, 29. The sportsbook data we had set at 31.5. I would say this is predicated a lot on him getting blocks and steals. And if we look at this matchup with Marquette, should obviously be a better one. But yeah, 3-3 for blocks and steals there, 0 in this game, and then 4-1. So clearly his fantasy score is going to really be dependent on that. I think this is just a better matchup. Marquette's a better team, so they're kind of, the data doesn't think he's going to get as many blocks and steals. Jordan King, we're still seeing that one there. Zach Edey, we're still seeing that one. This one is an interesting one as well for the Texas big. He is someone on the season we'd like to see the minutes be more there, and he should be getting more minutes. And with that, like if you look at his game log, you're not going to see that many minutes there for him. This game is a game that's projected to stay closer, so the minutes should be there. And if the minutes are there for him, then yeah, we probably are agreeing with the over being a good one for him. He is someone that does get multiple blocks and steals as well, which should help his performance in terms of fans. And so right now, these would be my favorite bets right now. I am concentrating a little bit more on NBA. If you didn't want to use the Zubac one, which I worry just minutes wise, he probably will get more minutes in this game. Thus, I think he could easily get this just on his rebounds. But that's the thing. He's not someone that's typically getting a lot of assists. And then I'm just rolling with the other fantasy score pops that populate in there. And then rolling with some college basketball. Again, I like to use these ones individually with the free square that we have available on PrizePicks with that Christian McCaffrey prop. Take advantage of that. That's free money they're throwing at you. Take advantage of that. If you toss in 5 bets, using the $25, all you need to do is hit 2 to be in the profit. Again, I just like taking advantage of the free money that they're tossing out. Then I would say this one's probably a little bit safer, but this is really banking on Bona and also Edey not getting a bunch of blocks and steals. Then we're also banking on Donovan to get a few blocks and steals. This one, we are really kind of banking on the game being a blowout, I think. Gafford getting in foul trouble, Denny not being able to shoot as well. Don't love that, but all in all, it's okay. And then Mike Conley, slight edge there. No free squares, I would say. And potentially with how well the fantasy score props ran last night and kind of the previous night as well, like probably due for a regression. So I'm kind of expecting more of a 50% day. Again, I think my job is to set the expectations for you guys. That is kind of my expectation for today. For some reason, that always seems to be the case with Mondays where I don't know, we just don't get as many good bets and the board just isn't as good. Hopefully it is though with college back. That is going to be all. Just a reminder, if you guys want access to that cheat sheet, it is available at 9to5sports.com for just $10 a month. Best value out there. I priced it that way for you guys so you guys can take advantage of the best props that we have. Make sure to give a like and subscribe. Let's have a good slate today. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, let's keep cashing.